Hello, my name's Rebecca Gill, and I'm the head teacher for the Humanities and Social Sciences at Campbell High School. So at school, we call this HaSS, and we teach the curriculums for history, geography, civics and citizenships, and business and economics over the course of the 4 years. And if you want more information about each strand of HaSS, you can go to the Australian Curriculum website and have a look at the documentation that is there for what we teach. As a group of educators, we often talk about why we teach HaSS and why we think it's really relevant and important to our students, particularly in the 21st century. And for us, HaSS is an essential component of developing these young people to be global citizens and to really empower them to be able to negotiate the increased complexities of the world that we live in. We as a group want to ensure that our students act with integrity, are empathetic, and can manage the ethical dilemmas that they may face, not just what we talk about in the classroom, but really be able to take those skills that we teach and use them in their life beyond our classroom. We teach our students to ask questions. That's a key component of our discipline. And one of the things that we really focus on is teaching them to be able to navigate the vast amount of information that's out there in the world and to really discern what is relevant, what is misinformation, what is important, to be able to deal with that. Critical thinking, creative thinking, problem solving is a huge part of what we do, as well as being able to think about and manage, negotiate the multiple perspectives of, the society that we live in. So some things that we do that are outside of the scope of the classroom is that we often engage in extracurricular stuff. So down the bottom, we have Jasper, who recently asked a question to Barnaby Joyce when we went to the Q&A kind of student broadcast that took place earlier this year. So that was on ABC. We then have Alice and Rory, so a year 8 and year 9 student, who participated on this panel for the National Museum, which was asking for students' perspectives on the way that First Nations history, gender, and migration histories are spoken about within Australian classrooms. We also take students to the ACT Youth Assembly. We support students in the Malagari group, which is our sustainability collective, and we host student voice forums. So we do all these extra stuff outside of the scope of our classroom to really promote students' capacity to engage with the world and be citizens. So our focus throughout the 4 years, so the way that we see it as a faculty is year 7, all 4 strands of the curriculum, so history, geography, business economics, and civics and citizenship, all talk about the way that we began. So it's looking at the kind of origins of different groups of societies of our own country. Year 8 is talking about the way that we change. So looking at change over the course of time, short-term change, but also long-term change as well. Year 9 is all about the way that we connect and the way that we are interconnected. So looking at increased kind of globalization and interconnections between the 4 strands. And then year 10 is about the way that we move forward. So looking at the way that we as a society have kind of managed some very horrible things that have happened in our past. So this is the Second World War history that we're looking at here, but also looking at the way that we promote and advocate for change and the way that we shape the world around us. In year 7, as I said, this is the way that we began. So in semester 1, we start with our civics unit, and this is looking at democracy in Australia. And it's also talking about democracy and its origins as well. So looking at the way that modern Australia began with democracy, but also looking at the origins of that from the ancient Greeks. We then move into the ancient world. So we look at ancient Australia. So we look at the tens of thousands of years of history that we have before colonial Australia. We look at ancient China, particularly the Han and the Qin dynasties. Ancient Egypt is also studied. Then we move to business and we kind of start talking about the way that we start. thinking about businesses and what they actually are and what skills that we need. So this is very foundational. What is it that we need to be able to develop a business idea? How do businesses function? And then in geography, we move on to water in the world. So examines the role that water plays into the development of the world. Again, going back to kind of the way that it all started, and place and livability. So we start thinking about why societies have developed where they are and what it is that we require as humans to live within a place, and what does that actually mean to kind of have a place and to live with it, and looking at that reciprocal relationship between place and people. The two main platforms that we utilize in our classrooms are Google Classroom, which is across the board at Campbell High School. We use a range of in-class activities, and we have typically each semester 3 major assessment items, and these can be easily identifiable on Google Classroom, and teachers are really proactive in communicating major assessment items home. The other tool that we use is Education Perfect, which is basically we use it as an online textbook, as an extension opportunity for students. And to really supplement the kind of class discussions that we are having within our classroom. So that is HaSS at Campbell High School. If you have any questions, please feel free to email me. As I said, my name is Rebecca Gill.